The whipped eye staring into the sun of a leaf.
And I see these ads for journeys to the rainforest. Never really thought I'd ever leave the States.
When I went up the Ucayali River, the purpose for these two friends, it was to find the most powerful shamans of this area.
And there's a lot of things in shamanism that you have to continually weed your way through to see what's complete myth and what is real. But there are spirits in the plants. The plants talk to us this way. And I'm a witness. So there's a reason why it's wonderful that everyone says to save the Amazon. It's the lungs of the world, but more importantly, the ancestors still live there.
Esta planta es el jergón sacha y actualmente los curanderos se dedican a tratar problemas de picaduras de serpiente y también a contrarrestar tipos de tumores o de algún absceso y te ayuda, esto absorbe todo este absceso y va curando. También se utiliza como desinflamantes, ¿ya? En cocimiento y té.
But I seen these ads and I thought, my home's paid for, I'm single, I don't owe anybody, I don't have to answer to anybody. Yeah, I might like to know the rainforest. So I inquired about some of the ads. So one day this lady called and wanted to know if she knocked $300 or $400 off her price of her journey, would I be interested? So we talked, and at the end of the conversation, she told me about ayahuasca, which I had never heard of.
Sacarle unas fotos, los perezosos, los monos, a tomar una agua natural de una liana, aprender cómo se sobrevive en la selva, qué planta se puede comer, qué planta se puede tomar. La gente en la selva no utiliza farmacia, la farmacia es la selva, va adentro y saca una hoja, una raíz y con eso se cura.
We traveled to the Amazon River to get the Tapera River. In this place we have a lodge. We offered in this lodge lodgings, meals, a guide, excursion. The meals, traditional meals as well, like a fish, catfish, chicken, rice, that we are used to eat here, okay? and you go with your guide to explore the jungle. It could be just 1 hour, 2 hours, because it's flexible. To this place, to make this kind of excursion by jagged canoe, piranha fishing, okay, maybe camping one night. In the evenings we go to see the spiders, the snakes, the scorpions, like these animals in the jungle, okay? The frogs, the snakes, to see the sloth during the time that you have.
Here in Iquitos, I would say the 70% of the people will believe in shamanism, you know. But there are people that say, I don't believe in shamanism, but they do. They just want to avoid of his own belief, you know.
That would seem to infer that I'm sort of into New Age sort of things, mystical things, and I'm not. I don't believe, first of all, I don't even believe in God. I don't believe in like spirits. I don't as yet believe in energy healing or anything like that. But that's not to say I couldn't change my mind. But right now I'm extremely skeptical about such things, and I'm pretty skeptical about everything in general.
Cuando estuve allí, yo no creía en cuestiones de espíritus, yo no creía en cuestiones de los chamanes que hacen curaciones. Para mí todo esto era una engañifa, una mentira.
There's a phenomenon within anthropology which is quite common. And that phenomenon is that as an anthropologist gets deeper and deeper into understanding the culture they're studying, it becomes more and more difficult to understand them when they report back to the world that they're reporting back to. This is because as they begin to study more and more into the culture, they begin to experience the things that the culture has within it, that they believe, and they begin to experience those in such a real way that they believe them too. To the point where an anthropologist is writing back, reporting about spirits and about angels or about brujeria or things like that, which make absolutely no sense to the people that they're reporting to. This is describing something that can be summed up with the word paradigm.
Pues ahora estoy acá, más que vine por la salud de mi mamá, que estaba muy enferma, estaba mucho tiempo, y cuando llegué me dio con la sorpresa que la enfermedad de ella como que ha sido incurable. Entonces, como nosotros llevamos la tradición del curanderismo, ya llevamos por medio de mi papá, que él fue la cabeza de la familia curandera. Entonces, siempre llevamos en la sangre, pero antes yo no conocía exactamente a qué facilidad podía dar ser curandero. No tomaba tanta importancia. Pero hace 5 años que yo empecé de nuevo, porque papá había elegido más a Percy, que él era el heredero que llevaría la tradición.
Mi abuelo me empezó a preparar cuando yo tenía 10 años. Al principio era muy difícil. Muchas veces yo no entendía lo que mi abuelo me inculcaba. Como mi abuelo me sabía decir que yo era la persona indicado o la persona elegido para seguir el camino del curanderismo y seguir la tradición.
A paradigm is something that is what makes your reality. It's a collection of beliefs, and that collection of beliefs then makes up what you know as reality. However, there is more than one reality, and that's because there's more than one collection of beliefs. Down here, there's a different collection of beliefs, and that puts them in a different reality. To understand this reality, you really have to understand the paradigm from which they work. The difference between the modern and primitive paradigms can simply be said in the term spirit. Modern paradigm or a model in the modern world doesn't have the spirit in it. It works on the levels of the mind and the body only, but doesn't give much credence or any to the spirit. Here, it's almost reversed. The spirit is first, and the mind and body would come second. So you could say this is a spiritual paradigm, and we come from the physical paradigm.
Se trabaja más que todo en la noche y es base importante porque dentro de la oscuridad, dentro de la noche, pues estamos trabajando con los espíritus. El trabajo del curanderismo se basa en la parte espiritual, entonces invocamos espíritus y cuanto más oscuro puede ser la noche, para mí como curandero, puedo visualizar mucho más claro que estando en el día. Puedo tener una conexión muy profunda con los espíritus y de tal forma pues yo puedo expresar toda mi fuerza espiritual también en cada uno de los participantes.
The ceremony was over. I spoke to the shaman the next day, and he told me, and this is in the middle of the Putumayo River where this man sees no gringos. He said that it's time for the prophecy to come true. It's the second 500 years. It was 500 years ago that the conquistadors came here and took over the gods and the medicines, and the curanderos went into hiding. But now it's the beginning of the new 500-year prophecy. And unfortunately, he told me that it would be the gringo that would become the new shamans. His own children and grandchildren refused to learn the ways of shamanism, refused to learn the herbal medicines because of the missionaries. They've come with their medicines, they've come with their gods, so they see their father and grandfather not getting any return from practicing their medicine. And so they prefer to have their clothes, to have a motorcycle, whatever they can get. They want the value system, which we as gringos are so used to, and that's why we've come back now to the old ways to retrieve them.
En cuanto a mi tradición, pensé que mi abuelo ha venido de Moyobamba, se ha preparado siendo cocinero. En sus trayectorias de viajes que tuvo él, pues ha podido conocer muchas tribus, y dentro de las tribus pues se iba preparándose él. Y pues actualmente yo como curandero ya soy mestizo, pero actualmente pues tengo un tío también que se está preparando actualmente y pues se ha dado cuenta del don también que tenía como tabaquero, y actualmente pues ya como queriendo superar sus conocimientos, complementando con el trabajo con ayahuasca.
So when she told me about that, I'm like, well, maybe I would be interested in your trip. What do I need to do? I had no knowledge about getting a passport, anything. So she explained all that to me, and there was a very short time to do it. So I done everything just like she explained, and I can't remember no time in my life that everything I done went so easy, so perfect. Even when I left on the trip, I was like, well, I can't remember one time that I left the house that I couldn't think, oh, I forgot to do that, or I should have done this, oh, I didn't bring that. But this time I was like, no, I can't think of one thing I forgot to do or forgot to bring. This is uncanny. I've never done anything that was so perfect.
They look for something because most of them come to here to be in the jungle, to think that that's things that the jungle have that they don't have in their country, because the jungle is too much things natural, the animals, the rivers, so quiet, but they don't have in the country that they live, most of them. So they look for the peace in this place. I think that.
Tourists will come for different purposes, to studies, to make some research down here, and they decide to come here, and sometimes they stay here.
So as a small child growing up, I really hated change. I mean, I grew up in a small town. We knew everybody. You left your doors unlocked. You could trust everybody. And as I grew up and life changed, I'm like, I wanted to stay in that time. But I've had to learn to accept change, because every moment things are changing, us included. So change is a wonderful thing.
But I think there's a lot of social ills that are undiagnosed, and there's a lot of, I think people in the modern world are plagued by norms of like separateness, of not realizing that they're part of a community. And I think this results in, I mean, my impression is it results in a lot of mental health problems and a lot of unnecessary social problems that can result in social and ecological disequilibrium.
At the current times, there's a lot of shifting going on. A lot of people are waking up and asking questions around what else is there outside of, the big house, the big car, and while on the one hand people are still trying to get that material thing going, a lot of people are waking up to alternate realities and are experiencing things that are a bit beyond the pure materialist paradigm.
So I don't want to be taken up in, this positive energy that people are talking about and good vibes. That sounds a little bit too hippie for me or something like that.
Something like shamanism is something that would probably still be seen as something off in cloud cuckoo land by most people in America anyway. Might agree, yes, the system is wrong, but this whole thing, it sounds a little like faith healing. And the skepticism turns on right away.
Around its base, a circle of dwarf, gold-robed, miniature pilgrim men turn their heads to adore a red sun, laying a dangerous ladder on the ukulele. It urges them back.
But what is an Icaro? From a Western perspective, I think most people think that it's a song that's sung, and it's a nice song. Something like akin to a lullaby that you might sing for your child to put them to sleep. Unfortunately, we don't realize the power of a lullaby. We don't think of it as an Icaro, but it is. And because it carries the healing intentions with it, it has the power to heal the same way an Icaro does. But an Icaro in this culture is a specific phone number to a specific spirit. It is a vibrational frequency pattern that, when repeated, puts you in direct communion with the vibrational frequency pattern within nature.
Dentro de los Icaros, pues son cánticos, son canciones curativos, son cánticos sanadores, por medio de que vamos, dentro de los cantos, vamos expresando los diferentes tipos de plantas curativos o diferentes tipos de doctores, que yo los llamo, o sanadores o maestros, pues de acuerdo a lo que voy invocando a estos espíritus de las plantas, de las aves, de diferentes tipos de animales, voy transmitiendo, se va transmitiendo por medio de los Icaros. De lo que estoy hablando voy poniendo en cada una de las personas, de tal modo que la persona se va limpiando, puede sentir mucho más fuerza. Muchas veces se puede sentir muy débil. ¿Por qué? Porque esta fuerza va combatiendo la parte espiritual de la persona y al mismo tiempo le va fortaleciendo también. Cuya alma triste llorosa traspasada y dolorosa la vida, quiero conocerte mi adoraré. Hari 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 Hari. Oh, cuán triste y cuán aflictada vida se dio la madre bendita la vida.
It's an exploration into realms, maybe, can't hardly say unknown, because many healers through thousands of years have explored these realms. So it's like tapping into the universe to learn as much as we can.
el microbiólogo tiene su microscopio para investigar las células y como el astrónomo tiene su telescopio o radiotelescopio para estudiar el universo, nosotros tenemos una herramienta maravillosa que nos permite ingresar, navegar en espacios íntimos, sutiles y poder decodificar la información que existe en otras realidades.
El concepto del curanderismo es una persona sanadora que en base a preparación por medio de las dietas que uno se hace, podemos dar curaciones por medio de soplos. Dentro de las dietas nosotros nos llenamos de mucha fuerza espiritual y de tal manera pues podemos hacer muchas curaciones por medio del soplo. A las personas se les puede cambiar sus formas de pensar, sus formas de sentir. Y lo que representa pues a lo que es vegetalismo pues es también conocer todo lo referente a plantas medicinales, naturales, oriundo de la misma naturaleza que nos brinda. Es una botica la naturaleza. Y pues gracias a Dios que nos ha bendecido con tanta riqueza en cuanto a medicina natural.
But I also find, from being a gringo living here, most foreigners who work with ayahuasca work with a Peruvian ayahuasquero in their side, who has probably been one of their teachers. But I work alone. I learned from my teachers, I've worked with them, but now I work on my own. And there's a certain amount of envy, jealousy.
Negative intentions directed towards a person in order to change their messaging. This is the idea behind Brujeria, except that it's done at another level, a level that we have trouble understanding. It's a spirit level. Like I said, a godfather gets things done not being by himself, but through his connections. A brujo does too. A brujo tells his assassins to go and get you. An hechicero tells his spiders, his snakes, his bees to go and poison you, to go and kill you. And those are the things, those are the allies, the assistants of the brujo as well. And this is something to remember. This isn't all fun and games. That is for sure.
Dolphins actually will, like in full moon, will actually transform to a human being and try to look for the young girls, especially the young girls, and try to fornicate with them and then take it into the water and live in the water. So what they say is a different world down there. So the curanderos also use part of the oil. They kill the dolphins and try to and uses the oil for attracting the opposite person. They kill the dolphin, they take the oil out of the dolphin, and they use it as an aphrodisiac to attract the other person, the opposite person, to your hands, you know. But you have to follow a diet if you do use the oil of it. Otherwise, the local shaman says that you have to diet, follow a diet. I don't know how many days, but you have to diet. No, you don't have to eat pork or pepper, alcohol, stuff like that, if you want this oil to work okay.
Este árbol es la lupuna colorado. Se lo conoce como puca lupuna. El idioma quechua, puca significa rojo, entonces lupuna rojo. En tiempos pasados, que digamos, o actualmente también algunas de las personas que se dedican a lo que es hechicerías emplean este árbol para cumplir sus cometidos, haciendo las hechicerías en las personas que desean hacer. Muchas veces la persona de lo que come su comida, la sobra de lo que deja, eso lo juntan y posteriormente pues cavan, hacen un pequeño hoyo y ahí ponen la comida de la persona. Y a la medida que lo tapan y a la medida que va pasando el tiempo, la persona va sintiendo malestares, problemas en la barriga. Se le crece la barriga cada día, hasta llegar al punto que, pues, cuando ya no puede aguantar la barriga, pues revienta. Ya llega al punto de reventarse y la persona pues fallece.
El brujo will introduce the bad energy through your organism by some kind of wound or injury, and you never know exactly what happened. You go to hospital, you go to X-ray, nothing shows up, But sometimes your family don't know much about shamans or brujeria. So sometimes people, die in the hospital because they never find out about what's happening, not even the X-ray or the tests.
Well, everybody likes to talk about brujos and witchcraft and things like that. I've been here in Iquitos for 15 years, and I think it's because it's something that's fascinating to talk about brujerismo, brujos, witches. People like to talk about it. So, but Iquitos has healers, and I haven't seen in 15 years a brujo that's had any power to do anything.
So, in my opinion, ayahuasca tests the person. What do you want? If you want to learn the bad, it will teach you that. But if you want to learn the good, then you have to be persistent and have lots of patience and wait before that comes. So but I tell people's like, well, why does somebody want to be a brujo and do harm? And this is the way I look at that, is that this work is pretty much just like everyday life. In everyday life, we can do good or bad. To do bad, we don't have to put out much effort. It's not hard to do bad in life. You really don't have to put out any effort at all. But to be good, it's a lot of hard work. And people do things always testing us. People steal from us, people lie about us, talk behind our back, they do all kinds of things. And normally, being humans, our first reaction is we want to do the same thing back to them. But we know that's not the right answer, so we don't do these things. So it's not easy becoming a good healer, but it's not any harder than it is to become a good person.
Bare on the dirt, his body is open, a tapestry of dark carnelian line and dots. His face, 100 pale raindrops.
I think if you look at traditionally or history, the role within the tribe of a shaman in the old days was that of the scientist of the tribe. He was the first one who experimented and looked around and tried to find new knowledge. He was in a way a politician in that most of the time he was the advisor for the chief and helped him with political decisions. He was the academic of the tribe. Many, they developed language, developed symbol systems in order to describe the reality they were experiencing. They were the counselors and therapists of the tribe, and that if anybody had issues or conflicts or emotional trouble, they would come to them. They were the artists of the tribe, and that they were the ones telling stories at night at a campfire, and with that, creating reality and creating concepts for the tribe. They were the healers, and they were the magicians. And I think in our work, what we've done is we've separated these functions. So now we have scientists, we have business people, we have all these separate categories, and as a part of that specialization, we've also broken us apart.
La espiritualidad en el ser humano es el anhelo de Dios, el anhelo de amor, y esto es permanente. Creo que esto es una constante dentro de la naturaleza humana. Y ahora tenemos un gran deseo de recuperar nuestra magia. Y creo que el chamanismo en Perú, en África, en Tibet, en India, en Tuva, que está en Rusia, y en otras tradiciones chamánicas de Europa, que están menos presentes, pero de alguna manera, viendo el chamanismo globalmente, ellos aún han conservado la parte mágica.
Most of the ayahuasqueros here are pretty eager to teach people from the Western culture, because the young people here are really getting where they have lost interest in this. They don't want to do the diets. They're young, they don't want to do without sex. They don't want to be in isolation. They're like us. They want to party and have a good time. Be happy-go-lucky. It's all right. But the healers here know. If they don't pass this knowledge on, it's like a huge library being destroyed. All this information is lost. When we gather this information, it comes with a big responsibility. It's just not for us personally. If you don't put it to use, it's absolutely worthless. And you need to be able to pass it on.
This community is an Ashanic community in Brazil. I guess they were really impacted by the rubber boom in the 1900s in Brazil, and it really changed their agricultural ways, and their human rights were largely trampled on. Some of the neighboring populations were prohibited from practicing their own methods of food production, and that led to a lot of knowledge loss. Also within the surrounding communities, I guess local extinction of useful species that results in loss of knowledge about those species, and subsequently, that's permanent knowledge loss. It just doesn't get to the next generations. But with this Indigenous education project that the community proposed, they're insisting on education in terms of the knowledge of the previous generations, and not allowing outsiders to take responsibility for educating their children. they have a lot of hands-on work, agroforestry, as well as history. And these lineages, that transfer of knowledge within these kinship lineages is of inestimable value. I mean, some scholars, attribute this knowledge to be like within the scale of tens of thousands of years old, and I guess it's responsible for producing all of our domestic foods that feed the people of the world, and it's currently, not valued by our intellectual property rights laws, and because our intellectual property rights laws, they can't understand like invention within lineages. There has to be like a hero inventor. So currently indigenous knowledge is really undervalued, and it's not really widely known how crucial this is for survival of surrounding populations.
Y todo turista que viene ve una palmera, por ejemplo, cómo se hace una casa, un tambo en un lugar, ir a otro lugar, ve las costumbres de los pueblos, pero algo natural, porque hay muchos lugares que hacen ver indios, pero indios no es reales, son generaciones, y a los turistas no les gusta ver, pues, por ejemplo, que se pinten la cara, sacarse la ropa, cambiar, hacer un show. Lo que nosotros hacemos es flora y fauna, algo real de la selva, y tenemos que irnos muy lejos para poder ver lo que es la realidad de la selva.
As I said before, the younger people here, Peruvians, that see their grandfather and father and uncles or neighbors, before there was such an influx of tourism about shamanism and people wanting to learn. Before, they had no interest in wanting to learn this at all. But now that they see the gringos coming from all over the world and the respect that they give to their uncles and their grandfathers, now that has piqued their interest again. Now, and they also see the remuneration that grandfather and uncles are paid, and the way they're able to buy more things for the children and school books and clothing and have a better house. So now they want to learn the shamanism as well.
Y pues tengo una hija actualmente también, la menor, que tiene 4 años, y pues en ella sí más puedo estar viendo que está más relacionado con lo que es ser curandero. Pues mi hija, pues en cada curación que yo realizo dentro de la ciudad, cuando está cerca a mí, siempre está como curioseando, tiene curiosidad de los tratamientos que hago, de las plantas que utilizo, mi forma de curar. Ella actualmente pues puede tomar sin ningún problema ayahuasca, solo con 4 años, y pues, pero en poca cantidad. Y pues más a mi hija menor le estoy viendo que sí va a seguir ella el camino que estoy siguiendo yo. Ella para mí es la persona elegida, la persona indicada que va a seguir la tradición del curanderismo más profundo con lo que es medicina natural, ser una vegetalista y también ayahuasquera.
Ayahuasca tourists, foreigners who seek shamanic knowledge, who seek answers from shamanic knowledge about their own lives, about their own role in their context, about their own role as representatives of modern society. I mean, within the context of traditional knowledge. I think that it's really important to have to answer the question about how they reciprocate for the knowledge that they receive. Given that knowledge is really undervalued in the dominant system of valuation that's inherent in capitalist markets. So that's the really big question. How can you value indigenous knowledge? How can you reciprocate for it if the modal means for reciprocating is kind of biased and skewed as to be able to reciprocate adequately? So, I mean, a lot of people that come here, their mode of exchange is that they would pay for it.
Ayahuasca told me all these things I was going to do, that I would make some differences in the world, which I thought was pretty far-fetched. And she told me never, ever charge for my work, that God put everything on the face of this earth for everyone, not only for people with money. Everything on this earth belongs to every one of us. In the same sense, nothing belongs to us either. So I have to put my faith in what it tells me. If I don't, then what am I doing working with it if I don't believe what it tells me?
Estamos en un mundo donde todo se desgasta y donde todo es impermanente. Esta visión de la impermanencia en el chamanismo verdaderamente es extraordinaria. Entonces, el cuerpo se desgasta y por tanto a ese desgaste nosotros le llamamos enfermedad. Pero también el cuerpo decae, sus órganos decaen, y al decaer sus órganos necesita una ayuda de la naturaleza, porque la naturaleza, las plantas y los distintos elementos de la naturaleza tienen un poder para sostener y enriquecer y en su caso sanar al individuo para que tenga una vida más feliz.
Puedo tener una conexión muy profunda con los espíritus y de tal forma pues yo puedo expresar toda mi fuerza espiritual también en cada uno de los participantes. No necesariamente tiene que estar enfermo físicamente para decir muchas veces estoy enfermo, sino muchas veces la persona no se da cuenta cuán enfermo está en la parte espiritual. De tal modo, pues la persona muchas veces no puede entender por qué se siente cansado, se siente sin deseos o sin ganas de querer hacer las cosas.
Yeah, I think if someone came here, if a vision seeker came here and he wanted to buy a visionary experience, and he paid for the visionary experience, and he received the visionary experience, and then he wanted to walk away, I think he'd be totally blind to how much he was a part of, and how connected. I think he wouldn't even realize how the connection involves so much more than merely the purchase. I think.
Les ruego a todos los que practican el chamanismo amazónico que lo hagan de corazón para solidarizar a las personas. Necesitamos unirnos para poder mantener la preservación de la naturaleza, la preservación de la humanidad, porque si nosotros no cuidamos nuestros hijos, nuestros nietos y otros que vienen, no encontrarán nada. y es posible que la humanidad va a extinguirse si nosotros no tomamos carta en el asunto ahora, entre todos uniéndonos.
Este árbol es el renaco. Este árbol representa a la pareja, a la unión de pareja, unión de familia. Este árbol pues tiene una apariencia o representa lo que es hombre, mujer, siempre cogiendo o abrazando. Las raíces crecen de arriba por abajo, se prenden hacia abajo y es como amarrar y tener solidez para que una vez que cogen o abrazan algo, no lo sueltan. Por eso representa lo que es unión de pareja, familia, sino también amigos. Tener muy buenas relaciones de unión en lo que son amigos, familiares y pareja.